There is one reason why we do not make cars like this anymore. Yo, what's up there, people? This is What a Doozy 1929 here. Welcome you to another episode of GT Autos. Right in front of us in white, right when I'm driving, is the Albany Virgo. Not getting confused with the Dundreary Virgo. Now, this is such a cool looking car. So, like we do in all our videos, we're going to give you a lot of specs about this ride, about all our cars. That's what we do. So enough about me yabbering around. Let's get started. The Albany Virgo, it's been with us. Well, the Albany based Virgo has been with us since I think 2014, 2015, and it's supposed to be a muscle car. Now it is a muscle car. It's just somewhat not that powerful, I would say. But I guess it was supposed to replace the Virgo by Dundreary. But of course we got it on here now, so there's no arguing about that. So the Albany Virgo has been with us since 2014, but the all known naming Virgo has been with us ever since Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and that car has always been based off the Mercury. But this car is based off a General Motors car, and that is the 1967 to 1970 Cadillac Eldorado. Now, the Eldorado has been the crown jewel of General Motors ever since it was first debuted in 1953. With the most luxurious and at the time state-of-the-art features, it was America's most expensive car with a staggering base price of $7,500. The average man back in the 50s was making around was making an average median of $2,500 per year, and with half of that you could have bought yourself a brand new Ford or a brand new Chevrolet. Now we fast forward a few years later, because we fast forward about a decade and a half later to around 1967, and General Motors releases the Eldorado again, but this time this one is a little bit smaller. Now the Eldorado from 1967 to 1970, it had a big change, it had a big makeover. They basically gave it a more aggressive look. They want the Eldorado to be somewhat a they want it to be something muscular, somewhat powerful. And yes, it did. It fit all those descriptions. It was very luxurious, and it also had a mean streak of being very powerful. And that wasn't until 1970 when Cadillac introduced the Cadillac 500. This thing basically was an overhead valve V8 pushing around 460 brake horsepower and 550 foot-pounds of torque. It was America's most powerful automobile in the United States. It was America's most powerful automobile, moving 4,600 pounds from 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. Now, this is 60 terms. 7.7 seconds today, it's kind of sort of all right. But back then, to get this car moving from 0 to 60 that quick, it's kind of almost close to impossible. But it was amazing. This car was very powerful back in its day. This thing's top speed was literally what you would least expect, is to 130 miles an hour. Now, you probably have to find a long stretch of road to get this thing all the way up to that top speed point, but this thing was very powerful in its day. Now, the Virgo is originally made by Dundreary, but I don't know why Rockstar decided to change it up to be based off of Albany, but who knows, who cares, I really don't care. But this thing is very powerful, and it has a little bit of elegance at that point. It has a little bit of elegance with its front end, but it also has a contemporary look of being somewhat aggressive, just like the Cadillac of 1967 to 1970. This thing moves from 0 to 60 in around an average 8.7 seconds. From 0 to 100, it's actually undetermined, because this thing barely could hit 100 miles an hour, but I determined that it was around 26.33 seconds and 30 seconds. And from 60 to 0 is an impressive 100 to 150 feet. That is really impressive for this large of a car. Now, if you're wondering how I determined the stopping time for this car, I just basically use the GPS route, and I use the numbers of feet I got on my map on here. So I just determined by this it's complicated how I do it, but that's just me jabbing around. The handling, on the other hand, is a little bit sluggish, but that's what you expect for this big of a car. But it's a hell of a lot better than some of these larger cars that we have on here, like the Tornado and the Manana and the Albany Emperor, which are iconically known for being very, very large sedans and large cars. So the Virgo really does have some wonderful handling. This thing on... Sorry, I had hit something. To finish off on a final note, my thoughts on this car is the style. It's very exceptional. This car looks very cool for a late 60s ride. And that's the upper hand that this thing has. It's very stylish when it comes to being based off the 60s. Now, it has some exceptional performance. This thing is very exceptional with getting off the line really quick from 0 to 60. No lie about that. For being a muscle car and for being something this big and this heavy, it's very exceptional. This is very, very, very exceptional. Now, the downsides of this car is its base price tag. This thing is valued at $195,000, and this is what makes the car not worth buying at all. Sadly, Rockstar is iconically known for really, really hyping up the prices of some of these cars they keep bringing out. And $195,000 for this car is literally not worth buying. And for starters, it's not fast enough, and the customizations is just literally not enough. For this car to be worth the price tag that Rockstar is asking, it would have to be customized at Benny's Garage. This thing would have to be customizable at Benny's Garage before this thing could ever be valued at $195,000. This car can be driven by anyone. It's a very easily driven car. Another note that I forgot to mention was this car, General Motors, back in the late 60s, this was technically the last year for the Eldorado to be, I think, rear-wheel driven, because when they changed it up, they based the platform of the Eldorado on Oldsmobile's Tornado platform. And if you're a car guy, then you should know that the Oldsmobile Tornado was actually front-wheel drive back in the 60s. So the Eldorado that we're talking about from 1967 to 1970 was front-wheel driven. So that's a nice fun fact I forgot to mention. But like I said, this car is really easy. This car is really easy to drive. Anyone can drive this, from low levs to expert drivers. This car is really easy to drive. I would just say it's just not worth buying. It's a type of car that basically Grandpa will own to basically get to his destination really quick, but with a touch of style and elegance. That's my final note about this car, because there's nothing much I gotta say. This is What Doozy 1929 here, signing off with the Albany Virgo. I'll see you guys in the next episode.